Congratulations! Your choice of an Innotek in-ground containment system will provide you with years of freedom and enjoyment with your dog. The dog professionals at Innotek encourage you to take the time necessary to train your dog and complete each step of the process so you'll enjoy optimal performance from your system. Should you have any training challenges, Innotek provides free professional training support by calling 1-800-364-3362. The call is always free, and you can call our professional trainers as often as you wish. When you purchased your Innotek containment system, you purchased the latest in technology to help you quickly train your dog to stay in the yard and be safer than ever before. The goal of this training video is to provide information that will help you with the following: to teach your dog to identify and retreat from the yard boundaries, to make the training fair so your dog will understand the consequences of leaving, and to make the training fun so your dog will enjoy staying and playing on your property. For total success, it's important to complete the entire course because it's much easier to identify problems and correct them as you go than to retrace your steps of the training process. So, take your time through each one of the training steps. Before you start the training process, you'll need a training collar. You can choose either a flat or slip collar. As a general rule, use a flat collar on a mild-mannered dog and a slip collar for dogs that might be a little harder to handle. You'll also need a 6-foot lead, or a 15-foot retractable lead works well too. Okay, so let's get started. This video is divided into 3 parts: the training schedule, rules and routine, and the training lessons. First, let's talk about the training schedule. Completely trusting your dog with the boundaries will take place over the course of about 4 weeks. Don't worry, the actual training is a small part of this time. The rest is spent closely monitoring your dog. You'll want to set time aside for 2 practice sessions per day that are 10 to 15 minutes each, because both you and your dog will appreciate short, fun lessons that make the training more effective. Use a calendar such as this so you can keep track of the training process. Your dog's behavior will tell you when it's time to proceed to the next level. Dogs learn at different rates, so don't be surprised if your dog catches on faster or takes a little longer. In Lesson 1, there are 6 sessions to teach the retreat pattern. In Lesson 2, there's 1 session about correction, and Lesson number 3 is how to deal with distractions. In Lesson 4, your dog is ready to take off the lead with some supervision, and in Lesson 5, we'll move on to being off-lead unsupervised. And then, wrapping up the training, you'll remove the flags gradually until they're gone. That's the schedule, and most importantly, every day, review the previous day's activities to see if your dog is learning according to schedule. Now that we've set up a training schedule, we'll go through some general rules and routine. Before you start to train, make sure the Innotek electronic training collar is fully charged and the plastic training contacts are installed on the collar. Don't remove them until the proper time. The plastic contacts will be replaced with the metal contacts in a later lesson. Put the electronic collar on to start a typical training lesson. A proper fit of the collar is important. Place the collar around the dog's neck. Make sure the contacts touch the dog's skin no matter which way the dog's head turns. Fit the strap as snugly as possible without restricting breathing. You should be able to easily slide 1 finger between the nylon strap and the dog's neck, as shown here. Prior to the start of the lesson, turn on the Innotek wall mount. With the collar in place, start every session playing with a favorite toy and plenty of fun. Make sure your dog is comfortable by showing him lots of praise, laughter, and hugs. With a leash, take your dog around to the boundaries of your entire yard, talking and pointing out the area you want to be observed. Do not let your dog go beyond the boundary. When you've completed a session, always end it on a high note with more play and praise. When a session is complete, bring your dog indoors to remove the electronic collar. If you're training more than 1 dog, train each dog in separate training sessions. Now we're ready to start with lesson number 1. These 6 sessions will ensure that your dog hears and acknowledges the warning tone at the boundary, but there is no correction during this phase of the training. The first lesson is to introduce your dog to the boundary and to help your dog understand upon hearing the tone to retreat to the safe part of the yard. With your dog on a lead, casually walk to the boundary. When the dog reaches the signal field, immediately spin around and briskly jog back into the yard. The dog will feel the tug and run after you. Praise enthusiastically. If you're using a retractable leash, casually walk your dog toward the boundary. Watch closely for your dog to indicate he hears the warning tone by pausing, twitching his ears, or tilting his head. At the first indication, hit the brake and tug on the leash, bringing your dog back to you, again with plenty of praise. If your dog does not indicate hearing the tone, walk your dog to the boundary and follow the same procedure. On days 2 and 3, repeat the same lesson. As the training sessions of the next 3 days progress, you'll see that your dog will start to anticipate the signal and retreat without your prompting, as shown here. Now it's time for the real test. Day 3 is successful only if your dog retreats without your prompting and refuses to approach the boundary as you approach. For each successful attempt, be sure to praise, praise, and praise again. If you're not successful, keep the training going as you've done for the past 2 days until your dog retreats without prompting. Although your dog is learning fast and avoiding the boundary, your dog will forget or attempt to break the rules with a tempting distraction beyond your yard. To prevent this, your dog must understand that there are consequences in breaking the boundary. Please take time to review Lesson 1. It's time for your dog to move on to the next lesson. For this lesson, you'll need to replace the Innotek plastic training contacts with the Innotek supplied metal correction contacts. You'll also need a helper for this phase of the training. With your dog still on a lead, casually walk to the boundary with your dog and helper. The helper should continue to walk through the boundary. If your dog tries to follow, he will receive a correction from the collar. Immediately retreat to the safe part of the yard and lavish your dog with praise. Please note, it's very important that your helper not stop, look back, or acknowledge the dog in any way. Continue this lesson at a number of different areas around the boundary. Please take a moment to review Lesson 2. We're now ready to start with lesson number 3 that we call distractions. If your dog is avoiding the boundary with the helper moving freely in and out of the area, you're ready to add more tempting distractions. Remember, never pull or coax your dog into the boundary area. This lesson teaches your dog he must resist all temptations to leave the yard. Dogs have difficulty connecting the lessons learned with one distraction to another. You can't assume that your dog won't chase a ball out of the yard, a bicycle, or a favorite neighbor. You have to go through a list of distractions that will tempt your dog and prove each one before proceeding to the next. Before long, your dog will connect the dots. Don't leave the yard for bikes, neighbors, bouncing balls, moving cars means don't leave the yard for any reason. Your training has been successful at this point if your dog has resisted the urge to cross the boundary on a leash with any distraction you can dream up. You're ready for Lesson 4. Please take a moment to review Lesson 3. Lesson 4. Off-leash supervised. This is a very important next step for your dog. This is the first time during your training sessions that your dog will be off-lead, and you must make certain that you and your dog stay in the yard at all times during this training. Make sure the Innotek collar is fitted on your dog properly. It's wise to spend a lot of quality time in the yard with your dog. The more your dog stays on the property for the first month, the less chance of your dog attempting to leave the area. Continue to supervise and play with your dog outside for a period of 1 week while off leash. Please take time to review Lesson 4. Okay, we're ready for Lesson 5, Off-Lead Unsupervised. You will know when your dog is ready to be unsupervised because your dog will resist all manner of distractions, both on and off the lead. It's a big step when your dog can be left unattended in the yard. Keep a close eye on your dog for 2 weeks. This freedom should be brief at first, and the amount of time should be increased gradually. Before and after each unsupervised session, you must continue the play and praise routine to continue to reinforce that the yard is a happy, fun, and safe place to be. Please take time to review Lesson 5. After 2 weeks of successful containment, you can begin removing the flags. Start by removing every other flag every other day until all of the flags are gone. The leads, trainers, flags, and the electronic training collar are all cues for your dog to learn the boundaries. They are all removed gradually, except the electronic training collar. It's essential that you observe whether your off-leash, unsupervised dog will avoid and retreat from the unmarked boundary. If your dog's response is anything but immediate, retrace your steps through the training process. Please take time to review Lesson 6. Thanks to you, with help from your new Innotek in-ground containment system, your dog will now have the freedom to run without the worry of running away. If you have any questions regarding the training of your dog, pick up the phone and call Innotek's free professional training hotline at 1-800-364